I know that I don't have a perfect union with my wife, but it's what I really want. And that's the thing that drives me, is to say, man, if I have this with Jesus, if Jesus loves me like this, if Jesus is choosing to make everything that I have his and make everything that he has mine, I want to love my wife that same way. I want to chase that. Welcome to Pastor the People. I'm Hunter Carter. Across from me is the Scott Brown. We are at New Valley Church. Both of us, we are pastors, and we'd like to say welcome to all the wonderful people. And Scott, you're one of the people I would like to welcome.
Thank you, Hunter. It's good to be with you, buddy.
It's great to be here. We're in a series on marriage, and we are kind of rolling with the topic of leave and cleave.
Yes.
Which is, that might actually be King James language. Is that the same language in, yeah, it's actually hold fast in ESV. So leave and cleave is the good old King James version. But that's kind of some language from Genesis, and it's kind of just foundational, biblical marriage stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, we're going to get into a lot of practical stuff today, I think, because of that. It raises all kinds of issues, and not the least of which is that from a human perspective, when you get married, that your spouse becomes your highest relational priority.
Right. And there's a biblical grounding for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you're following in the episode logic, I guess we started with kind of a thesis about mediocrity. Which is basically mediocrity in marriage is one. Tell me if I'm summarizing this fairly, but it's common. It's not like it's this rare disease,
right.
but it's dangerous.
Right.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. Anything you want to add to that, or you feel like that's good?
No, that's good.
Okay. And then the second episode was more about walking in the Spirit versus the flesh, and how it really comes down to a decision in a marriage. Are you going to have the fruit of the Spirit or the kind of deeds of the flesh? And I think this was a really pastoral thing you threw in, is the inputs. Pay attention to the inputs.
Yeah.
So like what messages are you sort of bringing in to your mind and to your marriage? And
right.
If you're filling your mind with social media, then you're going to get that, right? You reap what you sow, kind of.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So this brings us, that kind of clears the way in a sense to just go all the way to the bottom and say, every healthy marriage is going to be built on the truth, right? Biblical truth,
yes.
Biblical foundation. So leave and cleave. So interestingly, as we were chatting, this kind of content might, for some people, conjure up memories of their premarital counseling.
Yeah.
So I sort of have some funny premarital counseling experiences of my own, but what was that like for you and Becky?
Yeah, Becky and I had a long-distance dating relationship and then a long-distance engagement as well. We dated for 2 years, and we were engaged for a little over a year, like 13 months.
Man.
She was in Indianapolis. We were both in Indianapolis when we first started dating, and then I went to seminary in Central Kentucky near Lexington. And then, so for 2 years we were apart.
Maybe for 2 years you lived apart?
Yeah, more than that. Longer than 2 years.
I don't think I knew that. You guys really love each other. I mean,
we do, and we did. Yeah.
And to make that work,
yes,
it doesn't normally work.
It was challenging. Yeah. And so for the vast majority of our dating relationship, we were physically apart. And so that included our premarital counseling. And so I would come into town, and then we met with a couple from this really great but large church, and we really didn't know the couple very well. We met a few times, did a workbook. Okay. It was good. It was good. It was not great, but it was good.
Did you guys have to use a payphone to talk to each other back then?
Not a payphone, but one of my most expensive monthly bills at that time was my long distance phone bill. So it was landline, right? So where you're paying long distance rates, it was way more than I'm paying right now a month, I bet, for all 5 cell phones right now. Yeah, truly, it was expensive.
Yeah,
and
such a different world.
But worth it. It was such a different world. Voicemail, leaving each other voicemail.
Marguerite and I had almost the exact opposite experience, I guess, because we were good friends. Mm-hmm. I think you and Becky were friends too before. You knew each other. Right?
We knew of each other, and we knew each other a little bit. And
okay. And that's a whole funny story. But
Yeah.
but Marguerite and I were friends for a few years, and then I always forget, but we
She used to help you write love letters to this other woman, right?
yeah, thanks for bringing that up. She did. Yeah, Marguerite was such a good friend. She was my best friend who was a girl, that there was this other girl from New York who was in Ohio, and I was writing these love letters to her, and Marguerite was helping me. And then I went on a date with her in person because we had this long distance thing.
Yeah.
And I realized, oh, this isn't what I thought it was, and I don't think she was super who I thought she. Anyway, so that fell apart, and then I was like, man, I love Marguerite. But from the moment we started dating, it was 9 months until we were married, and that's
Oh, wow.
And it's not because we conceived a child or something out of wedlock, but
It
actually,
sounds suspicious.
Yeah, I know it really does. But I always forget: did we date for 5 months and we were engaged for 4, or did we date for 4 and we're engaged for 5?
I bet she knows.
She probably knows. But at any rate, what I tell you is we were in person, and it was like microwaved, and we did premarital counseling, and actually we kind of joke about it, but we were given basically this giant workbook, and that was kind of the premarital. It was literally just answer all these questions. And, but it was not very. There was one thing we really took from it, which I can share at some point, but it wasn't actually super duper useful. I digress. So, however, I've as a young pastor, I've taken 2 couples through premarital counseling.
You're an expert.
I'm an expert, basically. But Genesis 2:24 is kind of one you can't hop over. It's the first time you even see marriage in the Bible, and you get some really kind of foundational stuff on it. So if I can, I'd like to just read this real fast.
Please.
Get us into it. Okay. So Genesis 2, this is the part where God creates woman, and it's worth at least pointing out that everything God is creating is kind of getting more complex. He creates man, which is superior to animals and stars. But the final thing God creates is a female. Think about that. The crown of creation. The most complex thing in the whole universe, actually, female kind. So anyway, Adam is asleep. God takes a rib out. He does this surgery. And then it says, from that rib, he made a woman and brought her to the man. And the man said, "This at last is bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh. She shall be called woman because she was taken out of man. Therefore," this is 2:24, "therefore a man shall leave his father and mother and hold fast to his wife, and they shall become one flesh. And the man and his wife were both naked, were not ashamed." So ESV says, a man shall leave his father and mother and hold fast to his wife. And in the King James, that is leave and cleave
Yes.
unto his wife. So that's where we got leave and cleave
Right.
from. I'm assuming you grew up with the King James Bible.
No.
No.
I did not grow up in church.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, barely. We would go maybe once a month, and I'm trying to remember the translation. It was a church. The pastor had gone to Dallas Seminary. It was a church plant. It met in a gymnasium at a hospital, interestingly, right down the street from us. And it's a good church. It's still there in Evansville, Indiana. And it, I'm trying to remember.
RSV?
Yeah, it might have been RSV.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I've never been a King James adherent.
It just kind of oozes out of me sometimes, but that's beside the point. So these words, leave and hold fast, or leave and cleave, are words that are kind of grounding and describing the basic mechanics of how marriages begin. And if you're going to have a marriage, it's like this is how God designed it. A man should leave his father and mother, should leave something, and he should cleave. He should cleave.
Hold fast.
Or hold fast, to his wife. And then we see Jesus pick up these words in Matthew 19 when the Pharisees are coming up and asking him a question about divorce. Jesus basically slaps them with the book and says, "Have you not read? He who created them from the beginning made them male and female and said," quotes Genesis 2:24, "Therefore man shall leave his father and mother, hold fast to his wife, the two shall become one flesh." And then he says this, Matthew 19:6, "So they are no longer two, but one flesh. What therefore God has joined together, let not man separate. So not only do we see Moses and the Bible at the very beginning kind of ground marriage in this concept of leaving and holding fast, but we also see Jesus himself pointing back to it and giving it his full stamp of approval and saying, go back to this, go back to this. So in this episode, we're kind of going back to that, right?
Right, absolutely. It's absolutely the foundation. And there's three significant phrases in there, one flesh being, I think, the most significant. It's a whole new dynamic. That's kind of how Tim Keller and Kathy Keller describe it in their book, Reason for Marriage.
Meaning of marriage.
The
reason for God and
reason for God, meaning of marriage. Yeah. And it's, it is, there is a almost spiritual dynamic, right? When in the covenant of marriage, it's not a sacrament in our tradition. And I don't believe it is a sacrament. It's a common grace for all people, the gift of marriage. But it is, that you become one flesh, and therefore you leave your family of origin. And we'll describe what that means, what that doesn't mean. And then you hold fast or cleave. I don't love the phrase cleave because I just think of like a big, there was a restaurant in the Midwest when I grew up called the Cork and Cleaver. And a cleaver, is a big, you're cleaving.
Yeah, you're right.
You're cutting.
Yeah, the Rock of Ages cleft for me.
Yeah.
I think of, maybe I...
Yeah, cleave. There's got to be a reason why what that word means to hold fast, but it to grab.
Maybe we'll change the episode to leave and hold fast. It might be better to. Anyway.
No, we can't. No, it's too. It rhymes.
It does rhyme.
Anyway, you need to leave your family of origin, not literally, although you may need to move out of mom's basement or whatever it is, and develop, your own place. And you hold fast, and then you become one flesh. And it really does mean that it's a whole new dynamic. You're creating a whole new dynamic relationally, and you are one flesh.
Yes.
You and your wife, wife and your husband.
Yeah.
And her husband. And there's no other relationship like that.
Right. It's unique. There's this union. I have a hard time holding surprises. Like, obviously, that plays into the gospel and the doctrine of union with Christ. It's a really sacred thing, and yet it's sort of like an equation, like 2 + 2 = 4. It's like on this side of the equal sign is this one fleshness, this union, and you've got to have these two things as almost prerequisites for it.
Yeah.
Right. So I think first, maybe we can do it bite by bite, is how to leave and how to leave well. Like what are the things that you have to leave? And like, how do you do that well? Because there are ways that you can do that not well.
Yeah. And it probably all depends on your stage of life, like when you're married, and different people get married at different stages of life. But generally speaking, you're going to get married, like I said, generally, when you're a little bit younger, right? And for many people, it's their first time being married. And so it's like, there's a lot of challenges. What does that mean? Emotionally, what does it mean? Relationally, what does it mean? Literally, physically, like what, there's a lot to it.
I think one of the most obvious ones I think about is is sort of, even in Genesis, leave his father and mother. So, there is a sense, in which if you are going to be married, you must, in some sense, leave father and mother. And I'd love to talk about that a little bit. And I think it's actually one that feels personal to me because being a younger person who's married and kind of being at that age and stage, and seeing a lot of my friends get married and knowing people who've gotten married and all these kinds of things, it seems like this is an issue that a lot of people can really just like myth. It's like, because basically I think a common theme is a guy gets married and he has this wife now. And he's always, like, his mom, in some sense, has always been maybe the woman of his life, and she's had this role, and it's almost like there is, for some reason, in God's providence, and maybe because of the fall, there's this mother-in-law, daughter-in-law relationship that seems like it has some challenges and dynamics. But what you hate to see is when a guy marries a woman and then faces this moment of like, I've got to show my wife that she takes precedent over my mom. Like,
Right.
she's the woman of my life now.
That's right.
And I have seen multiple times this just be totally miffed, you know?
Yeah.
And
Think of this. You have 2 daughters, and there's coming a day when you will no longer be the relational priority.
I know.
You will not be the main man in their life.
Can we just go ahead and, Aaron, Magic Man, can we call a paramedic real fast? Yeah, I told you that I think about this almost every day, just like looking at my daughters. Like like 6 a.m. this morning, I'm getting Eloise out of her room. I'm looking at her, I'm like, she's so beautiful. I'm going to have to give her away. It kills me. So now
Adam Gardner told me yesterday, he's a good friend of both of ours and elder in our church, that he has 3 daughters and he has twin daughters who are in college at Covenant College. And he said, when one of them gets married, when the first one gets married, I'm not only going to like shake the man's hand and, you know, who gives this woman to be married to this man, you know, her mother and I, he goes, I'm going to hug him and then I'm going to hand him her cell phone bill.
Yeah, that's got to happen. No, I totally, my cell phone bill was, my parents picked that up for a year or so.
Yeah.
I think it's just, and it wasn't like intentional. It's just,
No, my boys are still on mine.
Are they?
Yeah. Because it's so cheap. It's ridiculously cheap.
Well, that was actually the reason. Now that I'm remembering, I would actually pay my mom just to stay on that, but that's funny.
Yeah.
At any rate, so where were we going? Oh yeah. So, okay.
How to leave well.
How to leave well and leave your family well. And I'm just going to offer this, but hear your thoughts. But it seems like at least one thing that has to happen is early on, I think, especially early on in marriage, you know, I would say this to young couples, even newly marrieds, like you really have to be intentional to show your spouse, like when it comes down to the wire, I'm picking you. I'm choosing you over every other relationship. Right. There's not a single other relationship that has my allegiance over you. Yeah. Right? You've got to do that.
You really do. Yeah. And and if you're coming from a really healthy family of origin, then that actually, it can be challenging, right? And you want that, like, right? You're a parent, I'm a parent, and you're trying to like establish this family. You know, you and your wife are establishing a family. You've had 3 kids already, and you're creating this dynamic where you want, on the one hand, there's enmeshment, like where you guys are together, and there's differentiation. You guys are individuals. Your kids come out of the womb different, and they are who they are. Yeah. And they all add to the family, and yet there's this way in which we're together, we're a family union, and yet you're also preparing them, like arrows, Proverbs says, shooting them from your quiver someday to leave the house, both sons and daughters, and to establish their own family. And so how do you do that as husband and wife, if you have kids? How do you prepare to like do that in the future? Because here's the thing. It's one thing, and we'll talk about this later, but like it's one thing to do it as husband and wife now when you're younger to your current family. But like you also have to prepare to be healthy on the other side. And that's where Becky and I are trying to navigate now. Yeah.
You kind of have to let them leave well, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So when you're young, it's like, I
have to leave well.
I've got to leave. And when you're older, it's like, I've got to let them.
Someday you have to let them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is one silly story that kind of illustrates the point, and then we can move on from, I guess, leaving parents. I'm from the South. I know that you take issue with the fact that I'm a good old Southern boy.
I do not take issue with it.
You're like, I'm the least Southern boy.
Well, you just don't sound like you're from the South at all.
It comes out when I'm around my family. Like, my dad's like, I reckon we ought to do this, or I'm fixing to do that, or So anyway, when you walk with the wise, you become wise. When you walk with the rednecks, you redneck a little. But so in the South, I don't think my mom would ever listen to this podcast, but she might, and I really love my mom. So keep it. Yeah. Well, I have a great relationship. I said this, like my mom's one of my best friends, and she knows this. This is no secret to her. But in the South, it's like food is a love language, especially sugar. And like we found these home videos on YouTube of my family actually, and I'm like,
on YouTube?
Yeah, I have a cousin who like put all these family videos on YouTube. Okay. And it's kind of fun. But there's a video of me, and I'm like a baby basically. I mean, I got to find these videos. Yeah, you would love them.
Aaron? By the end of this episode, I want to see this.
Cue them up, Aaron. But there's this video of like we're at my sister's like second birthday party, which makes me like less than a year old.
Okay.
And there's cake and ice cream. and my grandpa, who I never really knew as an adult, he died when I was young, but my dad's dad is holding me, and he's like, he's feeding me something. And Marguerite's like, oh my gosh, are they feeding you cake? And it's like blurry. It's an old-timey home video from the 90s, whatever. It's like, oh no, it doesn't look like cake. And then like it jumps to another, like a zoomed in video.
Yeah.
They're feeding me cake and ice cream. So anyway, Marguerite was like, see, I told you. And the reason that was a sore point is because my mom, the moment we had kids, was very eager to give them, spoil them, you know, feed them sugar. And I have a great wife who understands the fact that when you pump sugar into children, they become monsters. And it's not healthy for them either. Yeah. So there are all these health issues, especially. So anyway, early on in my marriage, when we had one of our first kids, like that was kind of a sticking point. And I chose my wife, right? Like, and I kind of had to, in a sense, lovingly stand up for my wife, stand up to my mom. But, you know, I know many stories I won't share of my friends, and I've also had blunders like this, but it's like, when it comes down to that, if you know, grandma's saying this and mom is, your wife wants you to do this, and I'm sure it goes the other way too, it can be very hurtful for your marriage when they feel like you violated something. Like you and your spouse should have this union, right? And if you're not going to leave well from family to show them that they're the priority, that can create real damage. On the other side, those are opportunities to really build trust, and yeah, it means so much to Marguerite that I've stiff-armed the sugar for our kids.
Yeah, you know. No, that's a great story that relates well. You have become one of their priorities. So the leaving, you're not abandoning your mom and dad. No. You're still called to love them, honor them,
right?
But it's all about priority, and you're now one flesh with Marguerite. Yeah, and you were never one flesh with your mom or dad.
Right.
You came out of that union. Yeah, you were a fruit of that union, and now you've created a whole new dynamic. You now are one flesh. And yeah, and recognizing that and demonstrating that to your wife is important. And there's so many other relationships that touches, right? I remember when I was in college, best friend, interestingly, I had two really, really close friends. We were fraternity brothers, and we're still incredibly close to this day. And one of them, Chris, is now a PCA pastor also. And I can remember when Chris started dating, who is now his wife, Sonia. Chris and I were inseparable, like, and Fulta, Dan, and I, and the three of us were like inseparable. Well, then Chris starts dating Sonia, and the dynamic changed. Like, he started prioritizing her when he was dating, and then when they got engaged, you know, it got even more so. And it was hard, to be honest. I was single at the time, and I could feel the dynamic shift. Yeah. And in all honesty, Smitty, I think you carried it a little too far back then. But no, just kidding. But like, that is slowly what needs to happen when you're married. It absolutely needs to happen. And it's not that you forsake all of your male friendships. Right. That's not it. But there is, but the way you're spending all your free time will change, and it should, right? Especially when you're seriously dating, and then when you're engaged, it's going to change your other relationships. Yeah. And one of the real challenges is, you know, if you have friends while you're single that are female,
if you're a male,
and vice versa, and vice versa, then, you know, opposite sex relationships, then those dynamics can become very challenging on the other side of engagement and marriage, because they need to change.
They have to.
So either those relationships now move, and I had a couple really good friends in college that were women. And one of them got engaged to another good friend of mine, but my relationship with her was through him. And then my relationship with her is now mediated through my relation, with Becky, right? It's like, I am friends with her, but Becky is also equally friends. There's no sense of like, I am connecting to this woman, you know, and that had to change even back then when she got engaged, right? It's like, my friend, it's like, okay, you're now with John. You're becoming one flesh, and then you became one flesh. Therefore, my relationship with you is totally different, and it has to be and should be.
Yeah, and there's like a wisdom issue, right? Like, I mean, obviously, even when you're single, if you're a Christian,
Yeah.
like there are limits and boundaries to healthy relationships with the opposite sex.
Right.
College is such an interesting time of life because it's so social. You know, like when I was in college
Right.
too, I had a lot. I did the I kissed dating goodbye in college. You know,
Yeah.
I was kind of a poster child for that, and that you know, because I was like, I had this relationship in high school that blew up at the end of it, and I was like, you know what, I'm not going to date anyone in college, and I didn't. So I had a lot
You're
of.
really good at not dating.
I was great at not dating. Yeah, yeah. And I was also very clueless because I had a lot of girls that I probably led on, and that I thought I was just friends with all these people. It's like, no, like actually, if you're just a dude and you're trying to be nice, it's like you're not just friends with all of
Right.
them, you know. But anyway, yeah, when you get when you're single, there should obviously be some wisdom, which I lacked, I think, at a point of just how far you can relate with the opposite sex in even kind of one-on-one moments, just emotionally, but definitely when you're married, your relationship with people of the opposite sex, it's got to be there have to be limits to it, and they've got to be sort of defined. I mean, how would you define that for somebody, right? Someone's like, "Hey, I'm married.
Yeah.
What are the lines?" And if you're gonna leave those kinds of relationships for your spouse, like where do you draw the lines? I guess what's appropriate, what's not appropriate, maybe. Like
Yeah. Yeah, that's great, and we could do a whole episode on this. I think as soon as you become seriously dating and then engaged and then married, especially, of course, engagement and marriage, those opposite sex relationships now need to be mediated through the marriage.
Yeah.
Like if they're not, and there's a sad, there's even some grief in that perhaps, but that's just the reality. Like,
Yeah.
I don't have female friendships that are distinctly apart from Becky.
Yeah.
And don't want to either. It's not simply because I don't trust. It's not even because I don't trust myself. I can't be friends with women. I'll just go crazy. Like that's sort of like the implication in some of the ways we discuss it today. Like, oh, are you saying that you can't have a relationship with a woman and just can't control yourself? That's not it.
Yeah,
that's not it. It's much more than that. It's just it's a bit nuanced, but the reality is, you are now, because of this one flesh relationship, it changes every relationship. And now those relationships, though, they need to be mediated through.
Because you're not in the market anymore for finding a love partner. So this was helpful dating advice for single dudes. It's like, hey, until you marry this girl, like she's your sister in Christ.
That's right.
So treat her like a sister. Right?
Yes.
And so it's like that also applies sort of on the other side, right? It's like, you can have, and you should, if you're a healthy Christian man, you should have like really great relationships with your sisters in Christ.
Yes.
But it's as a sister. And so like
Correct.
you can cross this weird line, obviously physically, but even emotionally. And maybe that language of brother and sister in Christ is a really good litmus test. Like, are they becoming more than a sibling?
Yes.
To you? And if they are, that's red flag, right?
I didn't ever love the book I Kissed Dating Goodbye, even as a student. I was a youth pastor when that came out, so that's how old I am and how young you are. But
wow.
So I even then I wasn't a huge fan of it. But I will say, one of the things I said to my sons, and I've said to other people, younger people, is when my boys were dating, and two of them are still in the market, but
if you're listening,
but I have said, and probably will say again, while dating, look, remember, this woman is not your wife.
Yeah.
This is somebody's daughter. This is somebody's sister. And in Christ, she's your sister. That's her current status. Friend, sister, not wife.
Yep.
And so someday she may become somebody else's wife.
Yep.
And you want to honor her in such a way now, and whoever her spouse is someday, it could be you. You'll thank yourself if you honor her well now.
Yeah.
But that remember, while you're dating, this is not your wife.
No.
And even when you're engaged.
Yeah. There's a great Jen Wilkin video, I may have shared it with you actually, but she's you may know about it yourself. Actually, I'm trying to remember if we talked about it. But she's addressing pastors, and Jen Wilkin is kind of a public theologian.
Is it Wilkin or Wilkins?
Oh gosh, I think it's Wilkin actually,
Okay.
but maybe I said Wilkins.
No, you said Wilkin.
Oh, did I? Jen? Maybe it's.
In my mind, it's Wilkins.
I think it's Wilkins. I should
You
know
keep
better.
talking. Sorry.
Okay, we can find it out. But she's talking about the role of women in the church actually, and she's talking about complementarianism is kind of the subject. But she has this really, I think, great line where she says to pastors, like, if your view of women in the church is just that these are like potential sexual temptations,
Yeah.
you have a shriveled view of women, right?
100%.
So we want to react against that and say, like,
Totally.
hey, there is a way to really enjoy sisters in Christ.
Yeah, and I do.
And you do. Yeah, I know you do. And I think a lot of people at New Valley do. I think it's a great culture for that.
I want to say amen to that. I have so many really close friendships with women.
Yes.
In our church, outside of our church. I just want to say that out loud.
Totally.
And I just want you also to say none of those are independent from Becky.
Exactly.
And it's not that I would never, ever, yes, including the women who are on staff in this church, I count as really close friendships and relationships, and yet they're also deeply known by my wife, and her name is Wilkin.
It is Wilkin.
Yeah.
I was right.
I was wrong. No.
No comment. But
No, but we should, and also just to say, every man and every woman should be strong enough. Like, it's not like every possible scenario of being with someone in the opposite sex is going to lead your potential downfall. But it is also, because we've experienced this many times, when it is naive to say that there's no potential,
yeah.
and that in your heart, what you need to be knowing is this: my spouse needs to be my number one relational priority. I have cleft, I have become one flesh with my wife or my husband, and therefore, I'm going to be careful to not allow myself to be emotionally or physically vulnerable in such a way that union would be compromised.
Totally.
And this is why emotional affairs start.
It is.
Often, because you're not getting your emotional needs met from your wife or your husband, and that is where it should be met primarily, or your physical needs in some way, and then you become vulnerable. And there are often people, sometimes wolves, who are ready to meet those needs.
Yeah.
In ways that are inappropriate.
And one like obvious boundary, right, is just like, and as pastors, this is actually like probably an interesting topic, is like, as a male pastor, right, trying to like care for women in the church.
Yeah.
Like the general rule is I'm never going to meet alone with a woman. Like if I can help it, if it's a sensitive subject, there are times like I've had a phone call or a text from a woman, but I will always tell Marguerite, so-and-so texted me, or I've got a phone call, but it's with this person, here's why. Mm-hmm. But normally you can actually schedule it to where there's another woman meeting with you. But in general, even if not outside of ministry, don't you think it's just good advice? Like you shouldn't be getting one-on-one time. I think is what you're saying about these relationships are kind of mediated through your spouse. You're never just like texting someone else as a woman, like, let's go do this. Or you're not having these long, you don't have I have no texting relationships with women besides my wife.
Right.
I don't have an email relationship with someone who's not my wife.
Right.
Those are the kinds of things that are like, those are boundaries, and it's not unreasonable. It's not unreasonable, right, to expect your spouse, I mean, on both sides to do that.
And like, are there times where I text, our admin, Jen? Yes.
Of course.
But like, there's also this reality. Like, I want my wife to be able to take my phone at any given moment.
At any time, yeah.
And she can open up my Google, my texting, my 100%.
There's
anytime.
nothing to hide. Yeah.
There should not be, right?
Yeah.
And if you are, then you've got to check yourself before you wreck yourself, right? I mean, for reals. Like that's, yeah. So I don't like hard and fast rules to say, like they call it the Billy Graham rule. Like, yeah. But, and I've received, that's why in a way this issue almost deserves its own episode someday. But the reality is, yes, there has been this overreaction in some ways regarding this issue, so that women have felt like they aren't a part of the good old boys club, and so that they can't have, in a setting like ours where our pastors are male only, then they can't have connection to the pastor. They don't, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
If I meet with a woman and it's going to be a one-on-one, it'll be almost always at church.
Yeah.
And where there are other people around, we have transparent offices where people can see in, that kind of thing. And
Totally.
I think that kind of thing is important.
Yeah, I think you're totally right. And the people who don't get the Billy Graham reference, he made a commitment that he would never even he wouldn't even take a picture with just a woman. I think that was one of his
I don't know about that, but I know he wouldn't travel alone. He would always have another man with him.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure, like in every photograph, he's gonna have a guy. But anyway, so yeah, there is I guess what we're saying here is, and we can move on from this, but like there are clear boundaries. The principle is they're sisters in Christ, and what that does mean is that there are ways to have really enriching relationships with women who are not your spouse.
I'm so thankful I do enjoy.
Same. Totally ditto. But people need to hear there's a wisdom, and when you get married, everything changes, right? Like there's a leaving of any kind of emotional intimacy that would be beyond that. You're not dating people when you're married. You're off the market, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so what else do you have to leave? Is there anything else we want to chat about with leaving well? I know we want to get to the cleaving.
I think it's this over-independent mentality of like, I have my money, you have your money, you have your life, and but on the, again, Becky and I are profoundly one and enmeshed, but there's also like Becky, I like to hike. I really do. Becky loves it. And has a whole world of hiking apart from me, right? We hike together some, but she has thousands of miles without me, with other friends and with our son. I love pickleball. She likes pickleball. She plays pickleball with me a little, and I play a lot of pickleball apart from her.
Yeah.
And that's okay. Like we have interest in all these different things, but it's getting this priority of like, at the end of the day, though, we are number one priority. We're seeking to be one another's best friends.
Yeah.
And yet, you and I talked about this preparing for this episode. There are things I can't get from her friendship-wise that I get from my closest male friends.
Right.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, she is my highest priority.
Yeah.
Even above my very, very closest brothers in the Lord.
Yeah.
She's number one, and their wives should be number one for them. But so that leaving and being one flesh, it does not mean you're rejecting all your friends. You learn how to figure that out. And I would say a couple that is not, so you can leave, you can overleave, you can what would be the phrase? You can
forsake or abandon.
You can do that not in a healthy way. You can like leave your family behind. That's not what that means. Like
right.
Utterly abandon, or like reject the family, or reject all your friends for, you'll be a better husband if you have really healthy male friendships.
Yeah. The relationship is the two become one, and there's a union. Mm-hmm. But in a way, there's actually a picture of the Trinity here, mm-hmm. right? In the sense that, you have God the Father and God the Son, and the Father is not the Son is not the Father, mm-hmm. but they have a union. Yeah. I and the Father are one, Jesus says. And there's a real sense, it's, obviously working, using our theology correctly, it's like we're reasoning back to God. We're not saying that God is like us. We're saying that we are like him. This is the way we image God. And in marriage, there's a picture there, which is, I am not Marguerite. She is not me. But
you're one.
But we're one. We are a one thing now.
Yeah.
And when I think of cleaving well, the thing that immediately comes to my mind actually is like finances, because it's one of the most obvious, tangible ways. Like when Marguerite and I got married, we both had student debt. And so her debt is now my debt. My debt is now her debt, right? It's not just like, okay, you take care of that and I'll take care of this. It's like, no, we share this. And we decided early on, I know some couples do it differently, but we decided early on to have one bank account.
Yep.
We decided that we were going to make financial decisions together. And all of a sudden, it's like, it's not your money and my money, it's our money, right?
Right.
Even in seasons when it's like, I've been the breadwinner, it's not, hey, I'll let you use some of my money now.
No.
No. It's like, no, everything we have, we share. That's part of the cleaving, is like everything that's mine is thine, right?
Yes.
That's one of the first things that comes to my mind about.
It's a really practical way to think about it. And it obviously it's where the rubber meets the road. Is it always wrong if, there's 2 bank accounts or this or that? No, I really don't think so. But
Right.
we've always just had joint accounts, except for like IRAs and retirement accounts, which you literally can't do. So
Right.
but even then, like it's still, I want her to see my retirement account as her retirement account and vice versa. And everything we own is ours. Yeah. And we were blessed that when we had kids, Becky was able to stay at home, and I was the only source of income for several years. And it's like, every penny is ours.
Yes.
I did not earn this, so it's mine. And I'll share some of this with you.
No.
We would agree on a budget and say like, hey, and we did the cash system for a while and be like, hey, here's your cash for groceries, here's mine, and here's some spending money for you, here's some spending money for me. But at the end of the day, it's our money.
Yeah. And, I think it's wise also to, as you're doing, like sort of parse and clarify certain things. It's not like, I've got some Bibles that I've had to work on this.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Don't necessarily
money is ours, but there's private property, right? There are things where it's like
certain things that it's like,
my
hey,
guitars are my guitars.
right? You're just kind of like, I don't really, but this is a sign of love. Like I get this new Bible. I let her hold it.
Yeah.
That's kind of like, she understands, but that's a major act of trust.
She can look at the glory.
She could, yeah. But yeah, I think finances is one. I also think, especially once you start having kids, I think
this son of yours.
Yeah, the son. He's just as much mine as Marguerite's.
Yeah.
And I know that different couples will hash out responsibilities and do it different ways. Sometimes it is, mom's going to help the kids go back to sleep and dad's going to get a good night's rest so he can go off and work a long day.
Yeah.
But Marguerite and I have tried to be, basically just each of us as much as we can. Like, for instance, what I mean is like when the kid wakes up, I'm waking up to get the kid. I'll bring the kid to Marguerite. She'll nurse the kid. But it's like diapers, discipline, all of it. It's like I'm just as much as dad as she is. The kids are just as much ours. Like we have a shared kind of life.
You're both
parents, right?
Yeah. And there needs to be a unity in that. That's the holding fast together, and that's a challenge.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And even when it's different, like I know in some scenarios, like Margaret and I both work actually, but in some scenarios there's a sense in which, Becky had maybe more hours clocked with the kids, but
Yes.
but you're still raising the kids together. Like there's a union, there's a unity, right? And how you do that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So actually, I think we have this here, but really like doing this well, cleaving well, holding fast to your spouse well, looks a little different in every season, right?
Yeah.
Maybe we could walk through some of these, but maybe.
Yeah, it's kind of a leaving and a cleaving or holding fast in different seasons of life. You're in this season, you're the earlier stage of marriage and parenting, but I think one of the things you kind of have to leave behind, and it's not a person, it's more of an idea. It's like some of your expectations of what marriage will be like.
Yeah.
And so you have to learn in order to hold fast to your spouse, there's a way in which, we all bring a whole set of expectations into the marriage because, well, my parents did it this way, or my family did it this way, or just what I thought marriage was going to be like.
Right.
And it's often quite different, right?
Yes.
Than what you bring those expectations. So there's a sense in which you have to leave those expectations behind.
Yeah. Most men think there will be more sex than there is. Most women think there will be more flowers than there are. Probably.
Yeah. No, that's right.
In broad strokes. And it's like,
Yeah.
this is where Keller is really useful when he says marriage is learning to love the stranger, that you find yourself married to. It's like, because you're both different. In a way, what he's getting at is like the two become one.
Yeah.
But you've never known that one who's now part of you. It's like you're both new. It's a new thing. So
Right.
there is a real sense in like, yeah, early marriage, I think expectations is a great way to say it. Is like you've got to leave those and then cleave to the spouse you actually have, right? So a lot of times you find out your spouse is different than you thought, and we change, right? So you're also learning to love whoever your spouse becomes. But you might have thought, oh, I don't know, I thought this was their love language. And then you find out, oh, that's kind of not their love language.
Right.
Well, love the spouse you have, not the one that you thought you would have, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and people do change over time, for sure.
Anything else in early marriage and leaving a cleave? I mean, we've already talked about parents. I think,
Yeah.
I just think
That's a big one, right?
I think it's so important. And I haven't done many things in my life right. I regret several things. Like I should have started my tennis career earlier.
Oh, yeah.
Major regret. But one thing that I did well, and I almost did it with a bad attitude actually, but it still means so much to Marguerite, is we were early married. Short story real fast. We were early married. We were living in this house, campus ministry. It's right next to the campus. It's so strategic, big backyard. We had this Friday night feast, 50 to 60 college students in my backyard every night. It was so great.
Okay.
We had bed bugs in the house, like 3 months into marriage.
Oh.
Marguerite could not sleep. She
No.
She was waking up with a flash. I mean, like every night. Like, I mean, she was tortured by it. We got the house treated for bed bugs.
Okay.
But that did not really get rid of the fear of bed bugs, which she still has. And long story short, this other house became available, and I'll use numbers because it's funny. We were renting this house for $650 a month.
Okay.
And then this other one came available for $850 a month, which was so expensive. We could never afford that. It was like, oh my gosh, 200 more bucks.
Yeah.
But almost against my wishes, Marguerite, she wasn't even pushing it, but I knew it meant so much to her.
Yeah.
And I almost just with a sour attitude, like house is off campus, I shouldn't do it. But we did it. And at the last hour, honestly, and Marguerite, like even to this day, if you asked her, she points to that and says, it showed me that you were choosing me, right? And I don't think you can say that enough to early married people. Show your spouse that they are the most important thing to you.
It's a really great practical example.
Yeah. The bed bugs. Okay. What about the next stage? So you go from early marriage to with young kids would be, and sometimes those overlap. Obviously, you have kids earlier in your marriage, so some people do it all at the same time.
Sure.
For us, we were married for 5 years before we had kids.
That's about as long as us too.
Okay. So yeah, obviously you've got to leave and cleave well. I'm going to lean on you for a lot of this, Scott, because you've pastored people through these seasons. I am a newly minted pastor, so I mean, what do people need to leave and cleave? What's the advice for that season?
It's interesting. I think with young kids, it's easy to switch your relational priority quickly from this marriage is my priority to now my child is my priority over the marriage. Yeah. And it's very easy to hold fast to your child the younger they are, and I think in particular, and to sort of ignore the relational needs of your marriage. That's one of my bigger concerns. There's also something bound up, which I discovered early in marriage, and I don't know exactly. It was definitely when we were in the first 5 to 7 years of our marriage, I started to discover that I needed Becky in somewhat of an unhealthy way, and maybe we can get into that later. And so I want to kind of stick on this other idea, though, is like, it's super important when you have a child. It's amazing how things change. Like we had a puppy early in our marriage. It was one of the, like year 2, we bought a house and we got a dog. And
what kind of dog?
It was a collie, and she was beautiful, Darby. And she was like our baby. We had a baby book of Darby. It was like literally the first time she walked up the stairs in our house. And like, we loved Darby. And Darby was like our baby until Jacob Austin Brown was born. And then that dog became a dog overnight. That dog that was like a baby was a dog. It was a barking, annoying dog.
Yeah, tell me about it.
And I loved her, but it changed quickly. Well, if you're not careful, even your marriage can become like a dog if you're not careful. It's like, because there's something, can we admit, like there's something so incredible about having a human being, an infant child. Like I can remember just almost being tempted to worship at the as the baby's in the nursery, you go into their room and it's just like a holy hush of like, oh my word.
It's magical. It's the best.
It is.
So great.
It is, but it's very tempting to make your child your primary focus rather than your marriage.
Yeah.
And that goes on for years if you're not careful.
Yeah, I mean, and biologically, right? Like the female body, like it becomes like it's a baby factory, and then it's like a baby facility. I mean, the whole biologically, the woman's body becomes the source of care for this child, right? And
It's a miracle.
And psychologically, emotionally, for both man and wife, if you're healthy and you love your kids,
Right.
like you attach, and you need to attach. And Marguerite and I actually say, we've found it takes 9 months after we have a baby to feel like we're in the new normal with the kid. And so we kind of say, hey, for 9 months, like, we know it's kind of a toss up.
Well, have
like,
you ever been out of it then because you have 3 kids? Like,
no,
boom,
we've never
boom,
actually
boom.
gone back to normal yet.
Yeah, I was going to say.
So we're just hoping it'll, no, but I mean, there's a real sense in which, you've got to love your kid and cleave to your kid in a sense.
Absolutely.
But I think what you're saying is just this one-liner basically, which is do not ever, right, sacrifice your marriage on the altar of your children.
Yeah.
Because it happens.
It happens.
It
a
happens.
lot.
And weirdly, I think you know this better than I do because I'm still young parenting, but I've heard it said, like, it's actually healthier for your kid. I mean, the best thing you can do for your kid is love your spouse, right?
Absolutely.
Like psychologically. People say this all the time. So I've heard this advice.
Look, it's absolutely true.
Yeah.
You are doing such a disservice to your child to make your child preeminent.
Yeah.
You are hurting your child if you do that. I mean it.
Yeah.
Your child needs more than anything else and even if you're a single parent, don't make your child preeminent, make Jesus preeminent.
Yes. Yeah.
Your marriage needs you to make Jesus preeminent. When Christ really is first in your life, that frees you up to allow you to love your wife or your husband really much better. And if you really love Jesus first, you're going to prioritize your spouse above your child because that's ultimately what will bless that child.
Yeah. So
Because it builds a security within that son or daughter to know they don't need me. Like they are, they love each other. They are stable. They are together.
Yeah.
They're healthy. They care for one another. And I am a part of them, but someday I will leave them and do this over because they've mimicked and they've shown me the way. They've discipled me and this is what it looks like.
Yeah.
And my sons have thanked me for this many times. I can't tell you how many times I had to say to them as they would, they're human beings, right? They would blow it. And they have been such good sons. But when they were younger, they would often disrespect one of us and they would disrespect Becky. I would say, don't you dare speak to my wife that way.
Yeah.
And I meant it. And I would say it very intensely at times.
Yeah.
But I wanted them to understand that is my wife.
Yeah.
Yes, she's your mother, but that is my wife and she's your mother. And you need to understand she's first.
Totally. And even it happens at a young age. Your kid is like, they ask me
Pressing
for
the
something.
boundaries, yeah.
And then they'll go ask mom for something. And it's like,
And I was always the sucker. They knew Becky always said no to something. They come to me. I'm like, yeah, sure. Do it.
And then Becky's like, Scott, what are you doing? Well, they find the weak point. They
do. I'm the weak link.
But you've got to have that united front with your spouse. And you tell your kids, hey, we are in this together. And I've already said that to my kids. Like, you won't talk to like my wife that way.
Yeah.
And my parents modeled it positively. I will never forget, even to this day, my mom, my mom and dad have a great marriage and I love them both. But my mom has always just like sung the praises of my dad.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, she would always just in the car, just me and her, she would say, you just have such a good dad, and I believed her and she's right. And anyway, it's kind of a beautiful thing. So what we're saying is, don't functionally divorce your spouse just because you have kids, because it could be so easy to justify it. Because it's like, well, they need me. And it's like, well, actually, so does your spouse.
Yeah.
And I actually don't know if I'm the best one to give advice because I'm trying to figure it out in this moment. But it's like, I'm trying to love Marguerite. We're still trying to date. And for us, I think I told you this the other day. You asked how our marriage was.
Yeah.
And I think good, but it's obviously a hard season. But even for us right now, it's like a date for us is like, okay, all the kids slept in longer than we thought. So let's just sit here and like actually connect, or let's stay up late and have a conversation.
This is tough. I know there's a lot of different theories, and on social media, people are bombarded with theories. But like, there is a kind of movement. Almost, it feels like where children are becoming more and more the centerpiece of the family, and you can overcorrect the other way. But like, it ultimately, you have, if you're not connecting, and we'll get to this more in other episodes, but there are several really practical ways where you are prioritizing your marriage above your children. Dating, like getting out away from the children. Like if you are never away from your children together as one, like that's a red flag. Of course, the early stages, right? When the child is very, very young, I get it. But like there needs to become a point where you are dating outside the house, like where you are you're reconnecting, rekindling. At every stage of your marriage, you need to be reminding one another, this is why we're in love. We are in love.
Yeah.
And we've talked, feelings of being in love goes in and out, but we are for one another. We are with one another. Getting time alone, prioritizing that is so absolutely incredible. And ultimately, eventually, what that will say to your children, there's a security here. They really care for one another.
Yeah.
They're pursuing one another.
Yes. I think, Scott, we probably have 5 minutes or so left. As pastors, this could be our first conclusion, which we get a few, obviously. But what other seasons do we want to get to? I know we've only got into young marriage for now.
Yeah,
but
we can keep rolling. But like in the teenage years, there's like the way you keep prioritizing one another is trying to be unified in parenting. It's very challenging. We found that to be more challenging than when they were younger. Becky and I were much more on the same page when they were young. During high school years, it got very difficult. We can talk about that some other time. But trying to remain on the same page, prioritizing one another, not letting them work one another.
Did they get better at that?
Oh, yeah. They become much more stealthy. And you might even agree with them, actually. They may come to you with a complaint about your wife, and you're like, yeah, you're right. You don't do that. But you can feel that and be like, no, it's standing up for one another. It's speaking good of one another. If you're going to fight in front of your children, and it will happen inevitably, like being careful that you do so if there's conflict and it's happening in front of the kids, doing it respectfully with good boundaries. Then here's the other thing. Like there's this season, like the kids are very little in the home, and it can divide you. When they're in high school, they can really divide you because you may not be on the same page of how to parent them. What freedoms do you give them? Do they have a phone? Do they not have a phone? How late should they stay out? When do they come home? Can they do sleepovers? Can they not? Well, that's a whole episode. And then, because here's the thing. If you've done your job well, they will move out of your house. And hopefully not too long after they graduate from high school.
Yeah.
Like they will move out, and they need to. And then it will be the two of you.
You actually, it just occurred to me, like you really get the chance actually to model for your kids how to leave and cleave. And so when they become an adult, it's like, they know how to leave well if you've taught them how to leave things well, right? If you've taught them how to prioritize, and then when they typically, it's just, I think it's standard psychology, but it's like healthy husband and wife. Yeah. Typically raise healthy. We're not saying holy or spiritual, but like healthy, mature, emotionally healthy kids. Yes. That can.
They're independent on the one hand. They know who they are. They have a strong sense of self. Yeah. And yet they know how to enmesh. They know how to be in community. They know what it is to be a part of a good family. They know what it is to be a part of a church family. They know what it is to be a friend and a father or future fathers and mothers. And they've seen it modeled. And but the thing even right now, what Hunter and Margarita would be thinking about, and I'm sure you are. You guys have such a great marriage. I'm so proud of you. But to be what are we ready to be just us again? And it happens so fast.
Well, that's what you hear people say is like a lot of when divorce hits, it's a lot of times they get their last kid out of the house. Yeah. And the divorce.
They're like, finally.
They realize they don't have a marriage anymore.
Right.
It was just the kids keeping them together.
Yeah.
So besides kids, I think every season of life kind of tests leaving and cleaving in a marriage. Mm-hmm. Are there any other ones you want to speak to? I think of career as one. Like you see a lot of people who will sacrifice their marriage on the altar of a career.
Absolutely.
And it's like,
or hobbies, or as a pickleball guy, I play a fair bit, but I see people at the courts. It seems as I see them every time I'm there, and it feels like they're always there. And it's like, a great thing, a great hobby can even bring a rift. You gotta think through these things.
And and I guess
nurture nurture that relationship? Like what?
Yeah, be curious, right? Like I never want to
Yes.
stop being curious about Marguerite. I always find out.
That's a great word.
I always find out things about her, and that was kind of a joke early in marriage because I found out all these things. Like she swam on the like men's swim team in high school. She was like a black belt in like
Wow.
karate.
What?
She was a volunteer firefighter. Anyway, Marguerite, kind of a joke
Holy
about her
cow.
is like she has all of these totally awesome like Easter
Skills.
eggs. Yeah. We found out one just the other day. I was like, I never knew that about you. But also, I guess when I think of cleaving well to your spouse, it's kind of like you don't want anything or anyone to be sucking away an emotional connection, an intellectual curiosity, a fascination,
Yeah.
an appreciation, a cherishing of your spouse. And it could be anything, right? It could be anything in the world that could do that.
Yeah.
It could even be ministry. You see a lot of, ministers or whatever. It's like prioritize your spouse, right?
Yeah, and what's tough is when somebody gets into a marriage, you're several years in, and you're like, we have nothing in common. We don't have, or you realize like they're not the person I fully thought they were, or they've let you down in some way, or they've like, and this is like we're in many ways we've been describing best case scenarios, but like the reality is it can be very, very challenging, very, very difficult, and that's where you really need the gospel and to realize your marriage as you are one flesh. It's this unique dynamic, but your spouse can't heal you. They can't complete you.
Yeah.
Sorry, Hollywood.
Yeah.
What's the movie? You complete me. You complete me.
You complete
Tom Cruise.
me. Yeah.
It's filmed here in Arizona. I'm spacing it. Anyway.
That's a great line Heath Ledger uses as the Joker to Batman. You complete me. In The Dark Knight. That's the one. That's the one I think of.
Well, at the end of the day, as great as Becky is, she can't completely.
She
complete me.
can't be everything to you, right?
No.
Yeah. So can we go to that for a second?
Yeah, she can do so much. She can. Tim and Kathy Keller talk so much about how like the power of marriage, and there is a power in it. Like the whole world can be against me, but if Becky's for me, I have strength. And I think there's a great truth in that. But the reality is, it has limits. Like
Yes.
meaning, like I found out early in marriage that I needed things. I had expectations of the ways Becky would meet my needs that were unrealistic and not healthy. I was like not requiring her just to be my wife. There was a sense in which like I needed her to like fill up the empty places in my heart that only Christ could.
Yeah.
And I hit me like she's not a mom to me. She is not a bud. She is not, like a dude friend. She is my wife. And as a wife, when I freed her up to be my wife, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was like, well, she's a great wife, you know? And if I quit expecting her to save my soul and make me like fill up all the empty places that she could never possibly do because she's finite too, and then it was like I was freed to finally go, oh, and she's a sinner. She's really incredible, but she's actually just like me. She needs Jesus.
Yeah. I think that's such a good word because as a guy, it's like my wife is my best friend in the sense that she's a friend and we have a friend relationship and there's no one I'm closer to and I'll pick her over anyone else anytime. And I just enjoy time with Marguerite. That's one of the things that makes our marriage, I think, great. I like sitting next to my wife,
Yeah.
But I know a lot of people, like it could be different and it's not exactly the same, but it's also a good reminder that like you need other relationships, like you're saying, the same way that your kids, if your kids are going to be healthy, they need you to have a great relationship with your wife.
Yes.
In a similar way, like if your relationship with your spouse is going to be healthy, like I need guy friends, and I can get something even from you, like from my bros, that I just can't get from Marguerite. And in fact, when she hears the way that like I talk with my guy friends, she's like
The trolling.
She's appalled. Yeah, I'm like like. She's like, I can't believe your friends, like, you guys are so mean to each other. It's like, no, this is
a love language.
We love each other. When you see guys try to talk to their wives the way they talk to their bros.
If you're not trolling me, I feel very under cared for.
I'm sorry I didn't troll you this past Sunday.
You had a great opportunity.
Well, I'm trying to exercise some restraint, but I guess what I'm getting at is, like, I want Marguerite to have rich friendships with women.
Yes.
And they can give her something I just can't. and she's got some great friends that do something for her I can't. And I now know that is an asset. Like, hey, where you're working through this, like, have you called Haley? Like, have you called so-and-so? Like you probably should, because I just know that phone call will give her something I can't, but I can give her something. And you knowing a role is what you're getting at. Like, we're all finite, right? And even our spouses. Well, Scott, I think we need to probably put a bow on this. Do you have a good word or a benediction for us as we get out of here? I kind of have one, and you can go first, or I can. But
give it.
I just, I would be amiss, and I think we're going long in this episode probably, but I'd be amiss not to mention that Ephesians 5 is really the fulfillment, the crescendo of Genesis 2. And what I mean is that's where Paul quotes again that same passage. Moses, Jesus, and Paul all say this same verse, Ephesians 2:24.
Yeah.
But what Paul says at the end of it is, he says, this mystery is profound, and I'm saying it refers to Christ and the church. And I just love that. I probably will say that in every episode we have if I don't watch myself, because it's such a powerful reminder that my marriage is a metaphor. It's a picture. It's an illustration of the reality that is really the gospel.
Yeah.
And the greatest example of leaving and cleaving, of course, is Jesus. I mean, he left, what's the lyric you quoted earlier?
He left his Father's throne above, so infinite, so free his grace, and he emptied himself of all but love and bled for Adam's helpless race.
Oh my gosh.
Charles Wesley.
Yeah. Well, Methodists can do
best.
something right, I guess.
Please forgive him, Father.
Yeah, but holy cow. I mean, and Jesus shows us truly the aim of my marriage is union. And I guess where I'm going is this. It's kind of a challenge in a way, but it's like, if you care little about having a union with your spouse, it shows me that I don't think you have a real accurate hold on the gospel. I know that I don't have a perfect union with my wife, but it's what I really want. And that's the thing that drives me, is to say, man, if I have this with Jesus, if Jesus loves me like this, if Jesus is choosing to make everything that I have his and make everything that he has mine, I want to love my wife that same way. I want to chase that, and I guess it's worth chasing. So,
amen.
Anything else?
No, that's
Great.
How can I add to that?
Okay, well, thank you for joining us for this episode of Pastor the People, and we will be back again soon. Until next time, grace and peace.
Amen.